It is time for everyone's least favorite segment, but I feel obligated to do it. Playoff picture time. Where the Falcons stand, their path to the postseason via the NFC South Division title, and even, believe it or not, the wild card. So here is the updated playoff picture for the NFC coming out of Week 15. Falcons are tied with the Cardinals at 7-7, which might prove to be a little bit of a haymaker if it comes down to the wild card for Atlanta. Now, at this current moment, the Falcons have a 24% chance of making the playoffs according to the New York Times playoff machine. It's very straightforward for Atlanta for one of their two routes. The division route is very simple. It is over the next 3 games, you have to finish with a better record than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tie, and it's going to go to the Bucs. You are 1 game behind, so you have to go most likely 3-0 in this stretch. You could go 2-1, but then you need the Buccaneers to go 1-2. So the Bucs have the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football in Dallas. They just beat the Chargers on the road. They've won 4 in a row. I don't think this is going to be a gimme. Sure, Tampa's the better team. It's who I would pick to win, but the Cowboys are I would say, I guess, a well-coached team. They're not going to be a team that just completely rolls over. They just knocked off the Panthers in, a bit of a dramatic fashion. And then they have the Panthers and Saints in Tampa to close out the season. So the Buccaneers have, I wouldn't say 3 absolute cakewalk games, but they're going to be favored in all 3 games. They don't have the Chiefs. They don't have the Eagles. No, they don't have any of those tough games remaining on their schedule. So the simplest way for the Falcons to make the playoffs is finish with a better record in the next 3 weeks than the Buccaneers. Finish with the same record or worse, and Tampa wins the NFC South. And Atlanta, if you don't know, has the tiebreaker head-to-head with Tampa. So if the Falcons go 3-0 over the next 3 weeks and Tampa goes 2-1 and both teams finish 10-7, it's Atlanta that hosts a playoff game instead of Tampa. Overall, I have little faith in this team going 3-0. I know that their upcoming 3 games are manageable, right? Giants, bad. Commanders, not bad and on the road, but that's just one tough game. And then Panthers, bad. But what have we seen from this team over the last 5 weeks that gives us any confidence that they can be perfect for 3 straight games? They barely got by the Raiders. They let Desmond Ridder come within 35 yards of winning the game. So it's not what you want to hear, but it's the cold hard truth. I do not have much faith in Atlanta going 3-0. But maybe they can go 2-1 and the Buccaneers somehow go 1-2. That might be the easiest, or maybe not easiest, the most realistic path for the Falcons. It is not a Atlanta surge, it's a Tampa meltdown. And that does not seem likely with them riding a 4-game winning streak. So what do you think Atlanta will do in the last 3 games? They go back home and play the Giants. Then they go to Washington and play the Commanders. And then they come home and play the Panthers. I'll say 2-1. Lose to the Commanders on Sunday Night Football. Beat the Giants. Actually, I'll say 1-2 now I think about it. If they lose to the Commanders, Week 18 is going to be such a deflating game. And maybe the Panthers come in and just put the last stab in the Falcons' corpse and it's all over. Now, if you're wondering about the wild card, for all you sickos out there that think there's a chance that the Falcons could maybe sneak into the wild card, which it's actually not that wildly unrealistic, that's what we'll go over next on the show in terms of what Atlanta can do to maybe make the playoffs if they can't surpass the Buccaneers. But I do got to give a quick shout out to our friends over at PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to, get this, 1,000 times your cash during Pickmas. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. Let me give you an example of what selections look like and what I'm doing for Thursday. I've got the more on Bo Nix and Cortland Sutton, along with Justin Herbert passing yards, while taking the less on Cameron Dicker for 1.5 field goals. So PrizePicks also offers Venmo and MasterCard for quick and easy deposits and withdrawals into your account this season. download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. All of that information is in the comments and description of today's video. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. Run your game. So wildcard time. Here's what I can tell you. The odds, the probability, the chances from the playoff calculators. In Week 16, if the Falcons beat the Giants at home and the Buccaneers beat the Cowboys in Dallas on Sunday Night Football and the Commanders lose to the Eagles, which are all things that are favored to happen, the Falcons' wild card chances are 12%. Now, if we take all these events, which are all favored to happen, and then roll it over to Week 17, Atlanta beats the Commanders on Sunday Night Football. They will have a 60% chance of making the wild card. It's not that complex, but where it does get complex is the other teams that want a wild card spot. But just look at the next 2 weeks. You're Atlanta, and you're focusing on yourself. Beat the Giants at home. Commanders lose to arguably the hottest team in the NFL right now, the Philadelphia Eagles, in Philly. And then you go into Week 17, and you somewhat control your destiny because going into this game, you'd be one game behind the Commanders. And if you win, you'd be tied with them at 9-7, and you would have the head-to-head tiebreaker. So a big week, of course. Every single game is big at this point. That's just, redundant. But it's not too far out of Atlanta's reach to maybe get the wild card spot if they can't catch up to Tampa. Here's where it gets hairy. The NFC West exists. And the Rams and the Seahawks and the Cardinals, who have the same record as Atlanta, are all jockeying for basically what the Falcons are doing with the Buccaneers, trying to win the division, and the consolation prize might be the 7th seed in the wild card picture because the Vikings and the Packers are essentially locked up for seeds 5 and 6. So it's in Atlanta's best interest, I would say, for the Rams to start pulling away with the NFC West because we don't need both these teams being competitive for a wild card or a playoff spot all the way to Week 18. So you're probably rooting for the Rams to take care of business against the Jets and beat the Cardinals to kind of knock Arizona out of the wild card mix, and then beat the Seattle Seahawks in Week 18. And meanwhile, for Seattle, get them out of the way for the Falcons to get a wild card spot by losing to a very good Vikings team, falling on the road to the Bears on Thursday Night Football for Week 17, one of those two games losing, and then lose to the Rams on the road in Week 18. That way, LA just gets the 3rd seed in the playoff picture. They're out of sight, out of mind, and the Falcons aren't competing with the Seahawks for a wild card spot because they do not have the head-to-head tiebreaker with Seattle. So what we don't want to see happen is the Rams and the Seahawks both keep winning, and one gets the division spot and the other one gets the 7th seed. No. Have one ascend, have one descend, and then just have the Falcons-Commanders game in Week 17 more or less be for the 7th seed in the wild card picture. So here are teams to root against if all that was too confusing. Root like hell against the Buccaneers. Root for the Commanders to lose against the Eagles so that Atlanta can go into Week 17 with a little bit of control your own destiny feel to it, and then get Seattle out of the way of the playoff picture and out of the wild card race because they have the head-to-head over the Falcons. Now, if you want a Falcons playoff game, hit that like button. Let's make this one of the most liked videos in the month of December. I know right now no one's very happy with this team and we're all kind of over their shit, but when the playoffs get here, you and I both know if Atlanta's in there, we're going to talk ourselves into it. It's going to be bad. It's going to be disgusting, honestly. But if that Sunday rolls around, I will forget everything they did over this 5-week stretch, and I will be all in. So if you're in the same mindset as me, hit that like button. I do want to give some love to the Dirty Birds Club before we get on out of here. Jose Santana, Ken Ballard, Trey, good to see you, Trey, on Monday night. Jason Lindino, Reese Atkins, Archangel, always watching with us. Angry Liquid, haven't seen Angry Liquid in a while. Jeebus was there on Monday night. Dictator JC, JT, Jordan C. Johnson. Ronan also watching on Monday night. Lord Buddy Bear. Bentley was there right at the start of our watch party. So thank you guys so much for tuning in every single game day that we go live for. Make sure to like the video if you enjoyed our content today.